Read the story.
Yeah.
Good night, Tilly. Here's Teddy. He'll guide you and keep you safe all night. He's a wise old man.
Raymond Briggs's much-loved book, The Bear, has been turned into an animated film. 16 years ago, his book, The Snowman, became one of the most successful animated films ever made.
I did the thing in crayon, same as the Snowman, reluctantly. I didn't really want to do it the same technique, but it was the only way that I could do it. It's very laborious and terrible for filmmakers, but it seemed to be the only method possible. They're marvellous things to draw, because they're so huge and yet soft and floppy and cuddly and yet dangerous.
When producer John Coates read The Bear, he was struck by its similarities to the Snowman.
Channel 4 and others had always wanted another Snowman, and Raymond Briggs and I had both agreed he melted and that was it, and we weren't going to do another one. And then I kept looking at the bear and I kept thinking about it and thinking what we could do with it and how we could develop it. That made me say, well, we could do another Snowman. And it is a deliberate attempt to do another Snowman. So we decided to do without words again, do it with music only, and put Mum and Dad, who had a lot of words in the book, into the background, and brought the whole relationship between the polar bear and Tilly, the little girl, into the foreground, and put together a totally different story.
To do this, he decided to bring back some of the people who made the Snowman, including key members of the production team and composer Howard Blake, creator of the Snowman's memorable song, Walking in the Air. Howard's theme song for The Bear was written for the little girl in the film, Tilly, and someone to sing the song had to be found. Using traditional handcrafted techniques, the animation team would bring the story of Tilly and the bear to life.
Raymond said to me that he wanted it to be a real polar bear. He said, I don't want one of these cartoon bears. I've always liked animating animals, so I've got a lot of empathy, and I would try and make it move correctly, because that's one thing I can't bear, is people not animating an animal correctly. It hasn't got any weight to it, or it moves incorrectly.
Wow, these are amazing.
Now, the story is of a little girl waking up and finding this enormous polar bear has come into her room, and she seems to be very unsurprised by this and treats it quite normally, and her task then is to look after it and feed it and clean up after the messes it makes, and semi-conceal it from her parents, although she goes on telling them about its existence. And this goes on for a while until the situation becomes intolerable and the bear has to go away, because bears don't live in houses except in storybooks.
When we originally did the storyboard, the only thing we left out of it was the poo, what we call the poo and the wee sequence. Because we felt that perhaps parents might not approve, but I know children would just love it. And we showed the video for Storyboard to Raymond Briggs, and at the end he sat back and he said, I love it, it's wonderful, but where are the poos and the wees? I want it back in.
They thought that was not suitable, but I thought that was quite a good thing to have, because the whole point of the bear leaving is because it's physically impossible to have a polar bear in an ordinary house, and that made that point.
What we liked about it was that Tilly just regards this polar bear as a big cuddly teddy bear, and she gets angry with it and she shoves it around, and you know that this polar bear could kill her with one swipe, and that's what we liked.
When you're making a film and you're adapting a book for a film, I think it's very important that you capture the spirit of the book. After that, I don't think it matters in absolute detail that you reproduce the book faithfully, as long as you capture the spirit of the book.
Hilary and I had to sit down and come up with an idea when they leave the house. We had so many ideas which we thought were good, but not good enough. And you know you've got to wait for that one brilliant piece of inspiration, and nothing happened.
And so I went over to her place and we sort of brainstormed. And we sat up till about 2 in the morning. And we still hadn't come up with an idea.
And then she went off to sleep in my daughter's room, because we don't have a spare bedroom here. And my daughter's room is filled. She loves stars and moons.
Her daughter has sort of stick-on stars, day-glow stars on the ceiling. The window was open and the starry night was there. And I started sort of thinking about bears and sorts of bears you have, and I then started thinking about the constellations, and I suddenly thought of Ursa Major, the star bear, and I thought, that is it. Bear, big bear, character.
The invention of the new character meant the story could be expanded to fill the screen time. It was now possible to produce a storyboard and a music guide track timed for each scene.
Unlike writing music for a feature film, you actually write the score first. I look at the storyboard, which is like a cartoon strip, and I start to think of the score and the tempo for each scene and how the whole thing will work from there. And I'll write a complete score that can be played by me on the piano. Well, how does a bear sing, was my first thought. They sort of growl, and I thought it would be a sort of... That's my very first thought, and it is actually the first bar of the film. And then that became...
I think the most important ingredient in the production of a successful animation film is the storyboard, and the fact that you film the storyboard and you film it to length, and you can put it on the screen and you can look at 26 minutes, and if it tells you a story, the magic is already there. And we go from there to line test, the drawn animation. We take the still storyboard pictures out, put the animated drawings in, and as that becomes colour, that comes out and the colour scene goes in. And in fact, that original animatic still drawings, it's the cutting copy, and at TVC it's the Bible, and nobody can move that without permission from the director and producer.
And now, months later,
Put in the colour.
we replace the line to...
Because I did the storyboard, I know the film inside out and backwards. But I know every single scene, I know the characters in that scene, I know the film absolutely intimately.
This is a new scene coming up, scene 32.
Normally, for animated films, the colour is produced by painting cells. But to recreate the style of Raymond Briggs, colour was added by crayoning and virtually redrawing the animator's work. The effect is to soften the pictures, and this gives the film its distinctive look.
The role of the animator is quite simple in that you get a layout which is basically a still version of the beginning of the scene, and you get the background, and the director kind of talks you through this process of how he or she wants you to animate the scene, a little bit just like a film director would talk to an actor.
Coming round here, and he's sort of waltzing, and he's lifting up his head, and she's sort of sliding down his neck. Various animators have strengths in various areas. Some are very good at fast action. Some are very good at subtle acting.
Okay.
It's her gasp makes him turn round.
Ah, I see.
He's sort of dreaming, and he sort of like,
Yeah, yes, okay.
He's a bit too aware.
Yes, that's right.
And so by the time she's up here, he's beginning to turn.
Yeah, okay, okay, yeah, fine.
The animated characters and the backgrounds they move across have to be designed to best create the atmosphere of the story.
Well, I'm responsible for the look of the film. I choose all the colours for the characters and design how they're going to look. The colour of Tilly and the bear is determined very much by the book. But I did want the colours to be a little bit stronger. They're very luscious, edible colours, because I think this really appeals to children.
Is there any way you can make that more reflective up there?
I coordinate with all the background artists. I tell them the colours I want them to use, the way I want them to draw up the backgrounds.
I think these colours could be just slightly more intense, the sky colours. So more turquoise, more blue. Yeah, it's great. Lovely. Lovely backgrounds. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
While the animation was being completed, the search to find the little girl to sing the part of Tilly began.
We were looking for someone who would reproduce the character of the little girl, who after all is bossy, knows her own mind, and is quite happy to kick polar bears around. So we wanted to try and get that in the voice of whoever sang the song in the film.
We went to a school which specialises in music and drama. And the music teacher had selected 5 girls who they thought was suitable. It's very difficult choosing the little girl because we didn't want anybody too mature, and apparently little girls' voices aren't like little boys' voices. They aren't really any good as singers until they're about 15, because that's too old. I listened to 5 girls, but out of those 5 girls, Arabella was the best.
Who would I most like to have a one-to-one with? The main man. The top dog. The one and only Mr. John Winston Lennon. I'd love to get inside John's head. See what made him tick. Oh, wow.
Happiness is a good vibe.
Far out. Hey,
but tomorrow, who knows?
Wow, John.
Great, beautiful. Peace, peace.
Peace. I wonder what he'd do to promote peace today. If I could have a one-to-one with John Lennon, I'd ask him how it felt to be thought of as arrogant. Well, actually, he was just as vulnerable as the rest of us.
Who would you most like to have a one-to-one with? Our mobile phone service gets people talking.
Another powerful performance from Benelin. Is stronger without prescription.
Back on the first track. Whole thing. The whole thing from the top.
It is a very sort of scary thing to be put in front of a microphone if you've never done it before and be told to sing absolutely perfectly. Nobody can do it, not even top-rate professionals who've been around for years.
This R that you
You have to try and get young boys or girls into a very relaxed situation so they'll feel good and they can sing at their best, and that's quite a problem. And when I bring you in, you start to sing, just like we did at the piano. So, okay, give us a track, could you? Here comes the click now. 2, 3.
La 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 la.
Yes. What, the singing?
Yeah.
Well, we can leave it. I find the whole process of doing a film is, you know, you have to listen to input from all sides, and somehow all the elements will come together.
We had the two tenors singing, and it wasn't right. It wasn't eerie enough.
When we did the two tenors, we found it was too similar sound, and we couldn't differentiate between one band and another.
So we discussed it with Howard, and we went back to the original concept, which was the bass and a tenor.
In traditional animation, special effects are used for such things as snow and water, but here they were essential to create one of the main characters, the Star Bear.
Initially we conceived the Star Bear as an artwork piece, and then I think it dawned on everybody that we could make it sparkle, we could make it move about, and make it more of a ghost with a solid centre.
I wanted him to be like a chunk of night sky, but also he should glow, he should project light. And that gave him a very dramatic theatrical quality. And apart from that, his interior is all glittery stars.
A running test of
That's pretty good, you know. He hasn't got any sparkles though, has he?
Well, it's very difficult with something like this because you know what you want and you've got to communicate what you want. So it's very much a trial and error process, really.
Agreed. We agree.
We agree on
we
the
agree.
middle
We
one.
agree.
And also, we had to try and keep it simple because we had to keep the runs under camera as little as possible.
It took a very long time to test it, but we have something like 8 exposures of film to do on each of these scenes, which is you stop, you wind back, you stop, you wind back, you stop, each time. So something like a 4-second sequence of Star Bear could take 2.5 days to shoot. It's not a sort of a single-minded one person going off and doing something sort of job. It's a collaboration all the way down the line. It's an animator's job that has been well done, and I put the overlaying stuff on top of it. But it could well be that I can improve his vision of it.
While all the animators are starting to get all their material together and draw it all and eventually colour it and trace and paint it and all the other processes, I'm starting to orchestrate it. And one finds an orchestra which you hope will reflect all the things that happen within the film. So I particularly wanted a tuba to reflect the bear-like qualities. So I used that as a sort of base for the whole thing. And the whole orchestra builds up from that big tuba sound. It's great fun orchestrated because in a way you've actually done all the hard work, and it's rather like drawing. When you write for piano, it's like drawing a sketch with a pencil. And orchestrating is like doing the full oil painting of it. I've always found that when you use real effects like lorries going up hills or taps running, you actually start to exist in the real world. Whereas the art of cartoon films actually is the art of fantasy. And I think if you can create the whole world out of sound rather than use a real recording, I think it somehow keeps you within that fantasy world. This is a dripping towel. When that's transferred to an orchestral score, you get a very rich sound which sounds like brushing.
When we started seeing the film in colour against the music track, you then start noticing gaps where you do have to have some sort of effects to fill in. When Tilly puts down the bucket, we had 3 of us doing that. Howard was on spade, sound assistant was on bucket, and I was on door. And we did it in one take.
Not everything works first time, and it was decided that a trained voice was needed for Tilly's song.
The song at the end is actually not that easy to sing. It's got quite a range in it, and you've got a high note in it, which whoever's singing it needs to sing it properly, because otherwise you won't believe it. And you've got this very sophisticated orchestral track underneath it, and if you don't do that, it seems a bit odd. So we did have difficulties finding someone to give us the right mixture of a good voice and to use against the orchestra.
Somewhere a star shines.
And out of the blue, there was this new young girl called Charlotte Church, who had just appeared like one of our stars in the film. And so we recorded her doing the song.
How rich or poor you are.
She's got the same sort of confidence, I think, as, say, Ali Jones, because, of course, Ali Jones later recorded Walking in the Air with quite colossal success. And I remember we were recording, for some reason we'd lost the wipe-in onto the beginning of one section, and so I said, I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you off the footage counter. So I did it the first time, and the second and third time I forgot. So she says, next time round, she said, yes, so Mr. Blake, don't forget to bring me in next time. I thought, this is a professional.
I know certainly when Howard originally was writing the music, he wasn't going to put a song in. And I said to him, please, Howard, you must have got 3 children. And for the last 8 or 9 years, all I've had at Christmas concerts is the Walking in the Air theme, and I'm sick to death of it. Please, can we have something different? So that's when he said, all right, I'll see what I can do. And he came up with Tilly's song, which I think is the sweetest song, and my children sing it the whole time. It's a lovely little song.
Which take would you like it to?
Take 4.
With the music recorded to everyone's satisfaction, the film is nearly complete. As a bit of fun, each of the key people who worked on it are featured as animated characters.
I am the lady in the shop.
Myself and my children are a mother and 2 children in the zoo. The pianist is Howard Blake. Paul Madden, executive producer, is a sailor.
You can only hope that if the bear has been made with the same love and affection that the Snowman was, that it will do something similar, but who knows.
John Coates, the producer, is the baby in the cot.
The Snowman and the bear will make 2 rather nice bookends for the last 16 years of our making these kind of films. and I like that.
The one I love most is Raymond Briggs, is the man in the moon who Tilly waves to when she flies past him.
It's a different way of thinking, really, to books. Much more movement, obviously. And I couldn't begin to do it myself. Thank goodness I can let other people get on with that.
Well, now you know how it's done, you can enjoy The Bear in its entirety tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock here on 4.